Hey there, Wargamers, Justin our Paint here, and today I want to talk about the Locust. Now, I was a little sketchy there picking those up just to plop them down here, but I want to talk about the Locust with you today. Now, I want to preface this by saying that this is a discussion from the Alpha Strike perspective. I don't play Classic, but I imagine the Locust and Classic is probably equally annoying in some way. Now, much like we did with our discussion about the Timberwolf and how I like to use that, I want to discuss the variant of the Locust I find myself using a lot. Now, I do want to mention that on the card here, there's a battlefield role, and this one happens to say Scout on both sides of the card. But the version of the Locust you might choose, if you're using the more advanced rules for Lance and Star formations, the role may decide what version of a mech you want to use. Currently, I don't use that very often. Actually, I've never used that rule at all. Not that those rules aren't good, it's just we're working our way into it. So this is from the Alpha Strike perspective and from the perspective of just pure playing models, not using any of the Lance formation rules. So we're going to be talking about this Locust today. I do want to get into the mini first here. I've got a couple Locusts on my table. I've got my current work in progress Swordsworn / Davian Locust. And I've got one more. I've got 3 here. I own 4. My 4th one is slotted for my Mercs, if I recall. So it's not in here right now. It's a very early work in progress. This one is basically done minus the basing, so it's here. I'm waiting on my basing material to come in, and the shipment is it's slow. But I wanted to have these on the table so I could show you that I own 4 total, 3 in front of you because they're so damn good. I can always, or I'm always trying to find a way to shave the points to get a Locust on the table, and we'll get into that in a moment. But we've got 2 of the new plastic ones from the Catalyst Games Labs Game of Armored Combat. This is one of my first plastic battle mechs I ever painted. It's the first part of the first Lance from my MFA, my Mortem Ferrum Angelus, my custom Merc group. And you can see slight difference, same model, but slight difference in quality in painting. And then we've got a metal one from Ironwind Metals. And actually, let me get a quick little zoom in here. It's actually a little hard to tell the difference. I did notice that the little sensor fin on the top on this is smaller. And I did opt for the lasers instead of the machine guns or whatever this is. This does come with those arms though. The metal one comes with 2 different arms, and you get, instead of putting this cannon or laser here, you could put a little sensor. So you'd get a few bits, but the model itself is almost identical. So it's kind of cool that you got a metal version of the plastic mech, but with alternate gun options. So instead of getting the 1, 2, 3 that this has, you would get 2, 4, 6, because you get 2 per side there. So you get 6 bits instead of 3, which is pretty cool. It's a little bit more tedious because it's metal, so working with it can be a little bit more annoying, and it's more prone to chipping, but I wanted a Locust, and buying single Locusts in plastic is a bit of a problem because people, if they part out the Game of Armored Combat box, they charge more per model, and I get it, but it's not easy to buy the singles, whereas buying the metal, it was just more practical to pay the price for this than to pay an inflated price for the plastic one. If you're interested in trading me some plastic Locusts, drop a comment below and get in touch. I do a lot of trading with DRD store credit and products, and I would totally love to have a couple more Locusts in my collection. And I think this one here, yeah, we got a little chip on his foot that you can see the shine there. Not too bad. I could probably put a little dab of gray on it, but that's going to happen when we're working with metal models, unfortunately. Just part of the price we pay. But I do want to get into talking about the strategies for why I like using the Locust. So one of the issues I ran into when I started playing Alpha Strike was I really like playing with heavies and mediums. It's like my 2 favorite weight classes, or the weight class that I have purchased the most mechs for, because the aesthetics of that weight class appeals to me. There's a lot of models there that I like. So that became a eyes are bigger than my stomach kind of situation, where I bought a lot of those mechs but didn't invest in the variety or spice of life, so to speak, of getting lights. So I've kind of been backpedaling and trying to supplement my forces with lights. So if you're building lances and trying to do, or stars, and trying to get your forces ready for Alpha Strike, don't discount the lights. It's not just always about the big guns. Sometimes it's about the scalpel that opens something up and allows your big guns to finish them off, or vice versa. The big guns crack the armor, the scalpel goes for the coup de grace, so to speak. One of the saving graces for the Locusts, or Locust in particular, is its TMM, its target movement modifier. So the variant that I like to run here is the 1E. It is my favorite variant thus far, and on the card you can see this one's usable in all the current eras. So you're pretty good to go if you're playing Innersphere and you want to run this version of the Locust. Now it's got a TMM value of 3, which means when it's moving over an inch, your opponent suffers a modifier of a -3 modifier to hit, which is pretty bad. When your average gunnery skill or starting gunnery skill is a 4, and this guy moves, they're immediately looking at 7s, and if they're firing at medium range, they're looking for 9s if you have covered 10s. That's a pretty high roll they have to make for average pilot skill of a 4. And when I play the Locust, you use it as a kind of outflanker. You run down the sides of the board, try and get behind your opponent, and they can't ignore it. If you can use the terrain so they have to ignore you because they can't see you, that's really good to let you get in position. But you leverage this TMM, and you hope that your opponent doesn't hit. It is a gamble. Anytime you roll the dice, you risk getting hit. It's the way that it goes. But any attack rolls coming at this guy, or more of a risk-reward type of situation, whereas they're not throwing those dice downwind at your assault mechs and heavies who are move slower, have a lower TMM, and are easier to hit. So you're using him as kind of a pawn, and if he makes it through the front lines or is able to skirt the sideboards and flank, he can get on the rear of a mech, and that's where the secondary benefit of this Locust comes in. Its short-range damage is a 2. That's not super amazing, but a lot of the cheaper, like up here, the point cost, a lot of the cheaper light mechs, their damage values very frequently are a 1. Having a 2 is pretty good, and you want to get this Locust on your opponent's rear for 3 damage. Now that is pretty good. At 3 damage at short range on the rear, you are pumping out the same number of attack dice that an average awesome does, the variant with the 3s across the board. You're rolling the same amount of dice he does. Now he's doing that at short, medium, and long. You have to be up close, danger close to do it. But not only are you getting those extra attack dice on a rear of a mech, if you can get into position to do that, you now can't be ignored. They have to deal with you, and if they ignore you, it's just free attacks every turn. Now down here, one of the benefits of the Locust 1E is its special ability E&E, or Energy. So for this particular variant, if he was to suffer a critical hit, which if he does, he's probably going to die anyway, but if they roll boxcars and it's not a structure hit, he is immune to the ammo explosion because he doesn't carry ammo. So you don't have to worry about getting blown up with that. Now looking here at master unit list, I'm not seeing the 1E variant, so this card might be out of date. It looks like the closest version I can find that has the same pilot or same point value and same stats is the 3V version, and the 3V version is also 19 points and does not have the E&E ability. So this card could be outdated. That's possible. I'll pop that up on the screen for you guys so that you can see it. Locust 3V, and you can check out the stats. Other than missing the 3 or the E&E, it's the same. Now we do have one other variant that I've got open up in a tab here to talk about. I don't have the card for it, so we'll pop that up as well. That is the 3M. The 3M variant has the same TMM, same movement, same attack damage. It costs 1 point more, so it's coming in at 20 points instead of 19 at the average pilot skill 4. It gains case, so it loses energy and gains case, but because it has case, if it would suffer an ammo explosion, he wouldn't outright die. But at that point, case is kind of wasted, I think, for the points, because if you take a critical effect on the Locust, he's going to explode anyway, right? So it's not something you generally have to worry about. Well, not explode, but if you're taking crits on this guy, he has such little life that he's probably not long for this world anyway. But there's a chance that the case could save you. The other big deal that the Locust 2M variant has over this one, for 1 point more, you gain AMS. And AMS ability basically states that, and I've been doing this wrong here, but AMS states that when you roll attack damage against him, if your card has indirect fire, LRM, SRM listed after you roll the attack dice, you reduce the damage you would be taking from that pool by 1. I was reducing ahead of time. From what I read, it's reduced after damage or after attack dice are rolled, which is huge. So not only is he hard to hit, if anyone's shooting at him with mechs or units that have missiles on their card, he reduces the damage output of them by 1, which is huge, especially when you're looking at needing 10s on average to hit them. That's pretty bananas. Now, getting back to the Locust strategies in general, really good for trying to harass units, obviously, get on the rear, push the flanks, but utilizing this movement here of 16. And keeping in mind that in Alpha Strike, when you run, you get to move 1.5 times your normal speed. So him running would be 16 times 1.5, which would be 24 inches. Now, I play Alpha Strike on a 4x4 generally, 24-inch movement plus your deployment zone. You're pretty well in a good, in your opponent's face or pushing their flanks really hard with that movement. This is really good for positioning, really good for pushing a flank. And if you're playing any kind of objective game where you need to hold a zone or something like that, this guy can get on it real quick. Now, if he gets hit, he usually goes down. You can probably bank on maybe being able to withstand a hit. And then the second one usually takes him out. I've had a lucky game recently where when I got shot, I think it might have been in the game with Bob, I think it took 4 units to hit him, and each one rolled 1 damage. But I was complimenting Bob and like cheering him on just a little bit because it sucks. You're not outright just killing something, but when he was needing 10s or 11s to hit this guy, even getting 1 damage through is huge because 1 damage is 25% of his life. So if you're going up against Locusts, it's worth noting that some damage is better than no damage, and don't get discouraged because it doesn't take a lot to take him out. Just sometimes you got to focus fire to get him down. Now, one of the other benefits of using a Locust here that's worth mentioning is not just running the flanks, not just holding objectives or pushing the board or getting behind your opponent. They're also really, really good at being spotters. You leverage this TMM value that they have of a 3. You run them down the board and you utilize hard cover or soft cover. Especially if they run. You can still spot if you run. So if you run one of these guys down the table 24 inches and you get in a good position where you can see some of your opponent's stuff and maybe they can't get good lines to you, he can be a spotter so that your indirect fire mechs can rain down. Now this makes him even more lethal. And because in that case, if you ran to get into position to do that, you're not shooting anyway, so there's no negative penalty for firing and spotting. And again, your opponent has to deal with you. So don't discredit the functionality and how useful little light mechs are. And from that, a Game of Armor combat box, the Locust is hands down one of the MVPs in my opinion. I will take this over a Commando every chance I get. Now, perhaps I haven't found variants of the Commando I need. If you have some ideas for that, sound off in the comments below and let me know what you think. It's also worth mentioning that I play a lot of Clan Invasion era, so as the timeline shifts forward, there may be other variants of the Locust that are equally or more useful or more appealing given their point totals and what they bring to the table. So if there's some variants like that, also feel free to talk about those in the comments down below. Let me know. Currently, we'll be doing a lot of Clan Invasion era and Civil War era games, but as we start to get more painted and try new stuff, you might get to see me play other variants of these mechs as well. So that being said, folks, what do you think? What are your thoughts on the Locust? Do you do something else? Do you have your own little swarm? As I was mentioning before, sound off in the comments below. Let me know about your tales of glory, the games that you have played, the strategies you employ, and what variants you like. If you enjoyed this video and found it informative and helpful, please sound off, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and if you're looking to pick up anything for Battletech, make sure you check out Fortress Miniatures and Games. He is Robert Ash, the owner there, has graciously decided to sponsor our channel here, so anything and everything you need for Battletech, check him out. If you like these paint jobs you saw, check out Monument Hobbies. Boom, got a link down below with a coupon code. 99% of the paints I used to paint these are from their Pro Acro line. Love it, it's great. I own all of it times 2. I've gotten 2 full sets. Bought them myself. They weren't given to me, but I bought them. Just for transparency's sake. And finally, if you want to further support what I do, check out deathresigns.com. Got a coupon code down below. Our 6 to 10 mil range miniatures have been blown it up recently. Got a lot of tanks and combined arms stuff that are great proxies for Battletech, and they fill in a nice niche in the market right now that Catalyst has left a void, and we are filling it. So if you're interested in picking some of that up, check it out. But as always, thank you guys so much for allowing me into your life, allowing me to connect with you and share this passionate hobby that I enjoy. I hope I've inspired you to try some new units, maybe get some stuff painted on the tabletop and ready to go. But with that being said, folks, talking real fast, it's time for me to go. As always, keep painting those models, keep rolling those dice, and I'll catch you next time.